Hello again to this video clip series, My Journey to God in a Very Secularized World. We are going through the first meditation of 4 of Joseph Nagomi 2003 at the International Spiritual Exercises before more than 200 priests and more than 10 bishops. And this first meditation with the title, The Woman Clothed with the Sun and the Red Dragon. And so he continues here. He says, God is communion. Satan is the spirit of disunity. In humanity, far from God, division is everywhere, in families, in nations, between nations, resulting in violence and terrorism. Humanity, which is drawn away from God, lives under the power of evil, lives in evil. It follows that the law of God, the Ten Commandments, are increasingly violated, trampled on an individual and social level. There is individual sin and social sin. There has been substituted for the laws of God a law which is contrary to the law of God. It is said that sins are new ways to express one's own freedom. For example, the commandment to keep holy the Lord's Day has become the day of man, weekend, sports, entertainment, etc. It is the sixth commandment was abolished to not commit impure acts. Today, based on the value of sexuality, everything goes. Impure sins by oneself no longer exists. Premarital sex is justified. Families can do whatever they want and use any means available to prevent life. Homosexual relationships are legitimized. Any aberration is permitted in the name of the great value of sexuality. It is true that sexuality is of value, but relative to this earthly life. When we die one day, they put us in the coffin, take us to the cemetery and bury us. After a short while, what remains of the value of sexuality, upon which were justified all the transgressions of God's law? And so you understand how Satan dominates in the fullness of his power, because he has led humanity away from God. He has built a hedonistic and materialistic civilization. He has spread a moral law opposed to the law of God. Humanity finds itself in this state and now lives in such a way that it is even difficult to understand. You can think that the Lord has conceded a certain amount of time to Satan to purify us through this tribulation. The gospel says, "You shall be threshed as grain is threshed." The light part that covers the grain is called chaff. The chaff goes into the air, leaving just the true, good grain. Many of us also have flown away like chaff, good, but they were not mature. That's why Our Lady matures us, especially with suffering, marginalization, sometimes with incomprehension, often allowing us to experience the burden of our weakness. But this is a necessary maturation so that we can remain. Do you want to leave also as many have done? It is necessary to remain, but to be mature. We become mature if we let ourselves work completely from the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And here he now goes into the third point of his meditation with the title, The Mystery of Iniquity. And he continues here, Satan has all this power also because he has built his army in a strong way. Satan is an evil spirit, but extremely intelligent. Being spirit, he is smarter than all of our minds. He is smarter than all the minds of the theologians combined. The mistake he makes is always the one that led him from Lucifer to Satan, from paradise to hell. It is always a mistake of perspective. It is always a mistake of pride. He thinks, I want to win. I must form for myself the strongest army, because it is logical. In a battle, the stronger army wins. I remember when during the siege of the siege of Vienna in 1683, the camp of the Turks was in place. It was frightening. They were very strong. If they conquered the city, they would go to Rome. And Mustafa at that time said, "We will go to Rome and transform the Basilica of St. Peter into a mosque." The Turks did this at Constantinople with the Basilica of Santa Sofia. But King John Sobieski of Poland came with his troops, and for one whole night they prayed. Blessed Marco d'Aviano, legate of the Pope, had them put on their banners the name of Mary. They attacked. They defeated all the forces of the Turks. And since September 12th, throughout Europe, there is still celebrated the name of Mary. The Pope put it in the calendar of the Universal Church as a memorial. Satan seeks to form for himself the strongest army. For this reason, he chooses the strongest, those who matter most, the greatest, the most powerful, the richest at all levels, at the political level, cultural, philosophical, even I believe at the church level, because he has succeeded in forming for himself the army with the Masons, this secret and diabolical force that entered the church. The head of Lebanon, of the Marimuda priests, came to me saying, "Tomorrow, a Lebanese bishop wants to talk about Freemasonry." And he says, "So be it. We are happy if this bishop will speak to us about Masonry, because it has entered the church." Do you see that Satan forms his army, and now he feels the sure winner? To the point that the Pope last year, when he spoke in Krakow, said, citing a term that in the Bible has a profound meaning. He said, "Today we're experiencing the mysterium iniquitatis, the mystery of iniquity." This mystery has always operated from the start, but in these last times explodes in a strong way, because it will succeed in seducing the world. It will succeed in seducing many children of the church. The mysterium iniquitatis in biblical and apocalyptic vision appears in the splendor of its power as a great dragon. The old serpent, cunning in order to tempt Adam and Eve, appeared in the form of a snake. A snake is not too scary. To tempt Jesus, it manifests himself in the form of a man. It is more alluring, and Jesus rejects it, using the Word of God. But in these days, when Satan triumphs, he appears in the splendor of his triumph as a great dragon. I read to you a portion of the homily that the Pope gave on May 13, 2000 at Fatima, when he beatified Francesco and Giacinto. Pope John Paul II said at that time, he said, "Another portent appeared in heaven. Behold, a great red dragon." Revelation 12:3. These words from the first reading of the Mass make us think of the great struggle between good and evil, showing how, when man puts God aside, he cannot achieve happiness, but ends up destroying himself. And Don Stephen continues, he says, "Humanity has put God aside. It will not arrive to the new garden. It will not arrive to happiness. It can arrive to destroy itself on the path that leads it to a heap of rubble." And then here he quotes another, what John Paul II said at Fatima again in the year 2000. He said, the Pope said, "How many victims there have been throughout the last century of the second millennium. We remember the horrors of the First and Second World Wars and the other wars in so many parts of the world. the concentration and extermination camps, the gulags, ethnic cleansing and persecution, terrorism, kidnappings, drugs, the attacks on unborn life and the family. The message of Fatima is a call to conversion, alerting humanity to have nothing to do with the dragon. That was John Paul II. I end this video up here. May God bless you and Mary guide you.